How does Oliver become the superhero that he needs to be when Oliver Queen is in the way? Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read a dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. This is issues 1 through 5 of Green Arrow, taking place during the Rebirth. Late one night in the docks of Seattle, a group of men known as the Underground Men begin filling a shipping container with humans. Just as they shut the crate, Ollie calls out to them, telling them that they think the fog makes them invisible, but they can't hide from the Green Arrow, and Dinah Lance adds the Black Canary. Elsewhere on the dock, Ollie's sister Emmy watches and then fires an arrow into the air. One of the men spot her, grabbing a child as a hostage. They tell her to lower her arrows. But seconds later, the shot that she fired falls down into his shoulder, and she tells him, as requested, arrow lowered. While Ollie helps Emmy take out a few guys, Black Canary releases one of her screams, taking care of the rest of them, and the cops begin to show up. However, as Ollie is looking at the shipping crate, he notices the logo of Queen Industries. Later that day, Ollie decides that it's time to take a look into what some of the company records are stating is going on, and that's when he finds diverted funds, anonymous accounts, shell companies, and he figured who better to ask than his CFO, Cyrus. He tells Cyrus that he's not sure if he's misinterpreting what's going on or what, but Cyrus assures him that whatever he's thinking is wrong. He'd be happy to go over everything if he'd like, but explaining something that requires an economics degree in a 10-minute conversation is going to be a bit tough. But before Cyrus can continue, the assistant walks in telling Cyrus that there's been a problem with the Trans-Pacific Railway project, and Cyrus says that once he fixes this, they'll talk. Just know that they are here to make the world a better place. As Ollie leaves, Cyrus makes a phone call, and he says, it's time. Once Ollie enters his apartment, an arrow shoots out of the darkness and into his shoulder. Then, many more begin firing into each of his limbs. He pulls out one of the arrows and he draws it back with a bow that he grabs, stating, I don't understand this. Shadow. Emmy runs in trying to see what's going on, and Ollie tells her to get out of here. But instead of leaving, she grabs a bow. She readies herself and Ollie falls to the ground, and Emmy asks where her mother's been. She's been waiting for a long time. Before we move forward, if you want to get information on where Shadow and Emmy came from, we've done the videos related to that. It's called Outsiders War. Look for it on the channel. With Ollie's lifeless body, Shadow and Emmy drive a boat out into the coast. As they reach their destination, Shadow begins to pour alcohol and plant drugs around the boat as Emmy pulls Ollie's body and dumps it into the waters. Through the fog, a giant ship appears, and Shadow says, they are here. They're masters, the Burned. Once aboard, Shadow goes on stating that in time, Emmy will forget that this even happened. And all that matters now is that they're family again. This will be her new home, the Inferno. Here, they will continue their services to the Ninth Circle. Later, reports go out that Oliver Queen's boat was discovered drifting. The vessel was found to have alcohol, drugs, and a significant amount of blood on board. This seems to be connected to the discovery of Queen's secretary, Wendy Poole, whose body also washed up ashore. Canary watches as the news goes on and shouts, that's a lie! I'm gonna make them pay. Whoever killed him, I'm gonna bring the hurt. Over in Henry Fife's apartment, he begins to hear a beep coming from his computer, and he sees an emergency homing beacon listed as Amico Queen. He rushes over to where the signal is, but he doesn't find Emmy. He finds Ollie. Ollie slowly begins to wake up from a dream of Black Canary, and then he hears a voice stating that his friend isn't a bad kisser. Ollie opens his eyes and sees an old woman asking, who are you? Where am I? Henry says that's his Nana. She's the reason he's still alive, binding and solving his wounds and feeding him, even shaving and bathing him. He's been out for about 2 weeks. Ollie tries to get up, stating that he needs to go home and fix this, but as Henry tries to stop him, he tells him to get out of his way and he leaves without getting any answers. As he heads home, Ollie finds his apartment building being blocked by a fence, and when he asks the construction worker what's going on, the construction worker tells him his job, getting rid of the old and making room for the new. The man presses a button and suddenly the building explodes, and Ollie watches his home fall. He looks at the fence and he notices a sign, development funded by Queen Industries. Later that night, Canary goes out to do her detective work investigating Ollie's boat for clues, and while she's inspecting the boat, she notices it having a mark. As she looks through the past records, she finds that there have been many bodies burned, all of them having coins with this 9 circles symbol covering their eyes. During this time though, Ollie wanders out into the woods looking for his doomsday cellar. Thankfully, he built it on a whim. He calls up Henry Fife, telling him to help him get things back in order. But, as Henry explains, he can't help him anymore. With no money, Henry can't pay his bills, and he's sorry, but he can't be there in jeopardy by helping Ollie. He can't help him this time. So now, with everyone gone, Emmy, Cyrus, Henry, there's no one left but Green Arrow. With Cyrus being his only lead, Ollie breaks into his own office, making his way up to Cyrus's office. But as he takes the elevator upstairs, the doors open and he finds a group of burned men, all with flamethrowers pointed right at him. Ollie begins firing his arrows and kicking his way through the crowds until he manages to get into Cyrus's office. And as he does, he sees the man with the mask there, and he lowers it, showing that it's Cyrus himself. Cyrus says that he knew that he would come if he wiped away his fortune, but he was a totem for the company. Cyrus may be the CFO for this company, but he's also a board member for one of the most powerful financial institutions, the Ninth Circle. Together they invested in outfitting a criminal enterprise on a global level. At least, that's the short version anyway. Ollie tells him, well, I'm gonna want the long version. And just as Cyrus says he can't do that, Shadow jumps through the door with more guards. Ollie releases his explosive arrow into the wall, and as it goes off, he jumps across the desk, grabbing Cyrus's laptop, and he escapes through the window. During this, Canary continues her investigation by starting with the dock supervisor on where the boats have been heading, and tells him to show her these containers she's planning on stowing away. Shadow begins making chase, shooting arrows at Ollie, and as they jump from building to building, the police start to chase after them as well. Their running lands them on a passing bus, but as the bus gets closer to the police barricade, it stops, launching Ollie to the ground in front of them. The officers all draw their guns, telling Ollie that there's no way he can bribe his way out of this one. Back over in the Inferno, Shadow reports that any fault with Ollie getting away rests with her, so punishing Amico would do them no good. Dante, the group's leader, shouts, "Death to the enemy! Or at least, that's my favorite toast, and seeing as you failed to kill Oliver, you have now become an enemy of ours." As Emmy breaks free from the guards, she points to the images on the screen of a tanker moving cargo, stating that everyone would be wise to stop telling her what to do and listen to her. If they want to get close to Ollie, they just need one thing. The one thing that he values more than his fortune and his company are her and Black Canary. While Ollie sits with the cops pointing their guns at him and a helicopter shining down on him, he knows that he's alone. He's gonna have to do this one on his own. As the officers move in, Ollie grabs an officer's arm, causing him to fire into the air, and then he kicks him away. He charges at another one of them, knocking him over, and then he begins to run down the street. But as he crosses a bridge, he hears an officer call out that he's got a clear shot. Suddenly, he hears the men getting hit and tased, and then he hears someone stating, "I came here to avenge your death. But to do that, I have to kill you first." And then he looks forward to find that he's staring at John Diggle. Ollie tells him that he doesn't want to fight, but John charges at him, stating, "I can't forget what you did. I loved her." John gets closer and he swings his baton, knocking Ollie off the bridge, and Ollie catches himself with his bow before falling. John cracks the baton on his hand, and then he kicks Ollie down into the pond. And as he gets to Ollie tells him, "I deserve that." And John tells him, "Hurry and get your ass up. We got work to do." A little while later, back at Henry Fife's apartment, he wakes up to see Ollie and John standing at the foot of his bed, and he tells them, "No, no, no, no." And they tell him, "Oh yes, we need your help." Henry tells him, "No, I like being alive, and I like getting paid, both of which are not good when I'm working with you, Ollie." John hands him the laptop, stating, "I will pay you if that's what it takes, but it would be a shame on you if I had to." After sighing, an hour goes by, and Henry breaks into the laptop, stating that this stuff with the Ninth Circle is deep. They have ties with all kinds of terrorist group all the way to the presidential campaigns. But as they continue to dig deeper, an image of Dante and Emmy appear on the screen, and they show that they have the Canary hostage. Dante suggests that they do a trade. They both have something that the other wants, and Emmy says that soon his pretty bird won't be able to sing anymore if he doesn't return that laptop. And then the screen goes blank. Ollie walks off, and as Henry goes to say something, he knocks his soda onto the laptop, frying it. Henry says that if it's any consolation, he did trace where that transmission came from. So Ollie and John Diggle make their way to the Inferno, a giant floating bank, and they have no laptop as leverage, which means Ollie and John are gonna have to go full-scale assault. As they get closer, Ollie and John sneak aboard, knocking out one of the board members, and John begins to switch into his clothes. John hands over a belt full of explosives, stating that this will be enough to make this place really live up to its name. And Ollie says, "No. Do you know how much money is on this thing? And do you know how much of it was mine?" John pushes the belt into him, telling him, "We may have no choice. Consider this a worst-case scenario." A short while later, the burned men come to escort the board members to their meeting. And as John walks in, Ollie can hear one of the men speaking, and it's Cyrus. Ollie begins placing the explosives around everywhere while listening to John's communicator, knowing that he's supposed to be sneaking around, but he can't hold it in anymore. While watching some of the burned men transport gold, he shouts, "Fascist bastard!" at Cyrus, and then he jumps down behind the guards. As the vault begins to open, Ollie fires a blunt arrow at one guard, knocking him out, and then a second arrow pinning down a second guard. Ollie then runs up, punching out the second guard, and he stands in the doorway of the vault, where he sees stacks of gold bars, priceless artwork, and old relics on display. Elsewhere on the ship, Emmy and Shadow begin to get ready to brand Canary by burning her. But just as Emmy takes out a burning arrow prepared to use it on Canary, she whispers something into Canary's ear. Canary headbutts her, and Shadow demands to know what she just said. Emmy pulls out a knife telling her, she said, "We're on the same side." And then Canary pulls out her gag and screams. Everyone on the boat, including a smiling Ollie, can hear that scream. Ollie quickly makes his way to where Canary screamed, and as he does, he finds Emmy telling him, "About time, bro." Ollie pulls out a trank arrow, and Emmy tells him, "You should thank me for saving you. Just hear me out before you shoot." Emmy explains that back in the apartment, she switched to a trank arrow when her and Shadow ambushed him. And then when he was dumped, she slipped her homing beacon onto him so that Henry Fife would find him. She then contacted John Diggle anonymously, stating that Ollie had died, and then allowed for Henry to be able to trace the signal. Has she been secretly reporting to her own mother in the Ninth Circle since they lived together? Yes! Is that unforgivable? Maybe! But she had a choice, and she chose him. Canary says that they need to hurry and get, and then stops and sees Ollie. She runs up to him. "Idiot! Why the hell didn't you tell me that you were alive?" And he tells her, "Sorry, I was in a coma." Canary kisses him, and then all three of them start to hug. And John runs up stating, "You know, I don't want to ruin things, but I'm pretty sure we don't want hugs when the guy's chasing us." All four of them smile as they start to fight, but before long, Shadow appears behind Emmy holding an arrow to her neck. As more and more guards begin to surround them, Canary says that they really can't fight their way out of this one, and Ollie tells them, "Yeah, we can." And then he starts to take out the detonator. Explosions begin to go off all over the ship, and everyone starts to run towards the exits. Canary and John get onto his ship, and Ollie tells them that he needs to find Emmy first. But as he looks up, he sees a helicopter flying away with Shadow and Emmy in it. Canary calls out to Ollie, and as he turns to go back to save Emmy, a burning piece of debris begins to fall, landing on the boat. The rest of the boat begins to explode, and Ollie begins to drift away in the waters. Slowly, Ollie begins to open his eyes and finds that he's laying on a beach, alone, again. He gets up and he looks around, telling himself, "Not again." And that concludes the first arc of Green Arrow in Green Arrow Rebirth. It sounds like a lot of revisiting older storylines so that we can get him back on track with the Green Arrow that we all know and love. And I'm excited about this. This is probably one of the best stories that's been told ever since Outsider War. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more Rebirth content, and let me know what you thought about the Season 5 premiere of Arrow. Follow me on Twitter at Comicstorian, and I'll see you guys next time right here.